Welcome to the weekly chart review. It's Saturday, June 4th. And yeah, let's just dive right in. So there is just a few tidbits of news that we need to watch for in this upcoming week. And a colleague of mine was gracious enough to do a little bit of research, and she posted it in the Discord channel. So I'll just read it off quickly right now, and then we'll jump into some reviews with that information in mind. Okay, so AUD will announce their new cash rate. It's expected to raise interest rates from 0.35 to 0.75, which probably means we're going to be seeing some movement when that is announced. Typically what happens when interest rates are announced for any currency, it goes the opposite direction from what I've noticed, and then stabilizes and continues moving in its bullish direction. So for example, right, we're on AUD Cad right here, and when the news was announced early January, you saw this run for about 3 months. Late January, sorry. It was probably two months and a couple of weeks that this run lasted. And then CAD came out with stronger rates, and for the last month and a half, up until middle of May, it was running counter trend. So as we see it right here over the long term, this kind of did a little bit of a retracement, but it started going right back down, and it didn't make a new low though. So we'll get into analyzing this pair in just a second. I'm going to read off the last two pieces of news. On Thursday, the euro will announce their cash rate. As of now, there's no change expected. They do not plan on raising rates, which means that euro should remain weak or bearish on any of its pairs. And Friday, the USD will announce consumer price index rates. Expected 0.3% increase, which means it is still costing us more money to buy our consumer goods. Inflation is still rising. It could cause some weakness in the US dollar. And CPI tracks thousands and thousands of consumer products, including food and energy. The core CPI is pretty much the same thing, but it doesn't track food and energy costs. And it is at 0.6%, and they are forecasting a decrease to 0.5%. Not really sure what that is going to entail. We're just going to be kind of vigilant in all US currency pairs. So with that in mind, let's jump into analysis. So with AUD Cad, knowing that AUD will announce their rates on Monday, and it's projected that it's going to gain some strength, it's still going to be lower overall than CAD. Right, the Canadian interest rates are about, I believe, at 1%, where Australia is going to be at 0.75. So as far as this currency pair is concerned, it is very possible that it does pull higher just a tad, but I don't see it going much higher. We might be doing some zigzag patterns like we see right here, right? Just these up and down movements. Which, funny enough, these are beautiful Elliott waves to keep an eye on, right? But we could be seeing a little bit of that happening in the next few weeks. I kind of project a movement off of, if it's that high, possibly around this area, maybe hitting off this brown EMA, which is the 610, something like that. Once it comes around that area, I'd be looking to take a sell. Quite possibly maybe just to this yellow line. I do not see it going much further down, as it did not break a newer low. So kind of zigzagging in between those. So quite possibly, you know, have a 30 pip stop loss, 9.99, pretty close. So a 10-to-1 risk to reward ratio on this trade. Entirely possible. I'm just going to leave that up there. And the only way I would take it is, again, if I see an EMA switch on the 4-hour. Okay, so it could be that it comes a little bit higher. At that point, I'll set a sell stop, and you know, once it moves a little bit further south, then it'll trigger the trade, and I'll be in. And that's kind of what I'll be looking for with AUD Cad. Now, AUD Chf. Actually, let's pop back here for a second. there is one more possibility of a move happening within this currency pair, and that is if we take this lower retracement that we have right there and we draw a fib from high to low, right? So that could also mark for us that we are in sell territory based off of this movement, right? We had that giant red candle on close on Friday. So it's quite possible that it already rejected off that 610. And if it's just one of the things where it happened on that daily and it's going to start slowly moving back up, then this will be our entry. If it starts going down, then the trade won't really be valid much longer. I don't want to enter it kind of in the middle, right? As you see, it's way down here already. The only way I would say is if we do, well, I'll just delete these extra fibs right now. If it's going to be something like the retracement, right? So like this, but then we're expecting it to go much higher. So that's not even, it's not even going to validate anything. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. If it starts dropping from where it's at right now, I'm going to stay out of it. Aud Chf. I marked this up already. I'm expecting a move downwards actually. So like I was saying before, AUD is going, it's going to be gaining some strength on Monday, but it could take several days for that strength to actually kick in. At the same time, over the last little while, maybe for the last 2 weeks, it's been sort of bullish. I mean, it kind of just been moving sideways right here for the last 11 days. Right, so we start on May 23rd and we closed on June 3rd almost exactly at the same price, right? It's maybe 10 pips higher. No, not even 10 pips, like that's 3 or 4 pips. Anyway, not a whole lot. So yeah, I mean, it's very likely that that run is kind of come and gone, and we're going to be looking at deeper drawdown. Anyway, Aud Chf, it's been kind of bouncing in between this purple line, but going lower and lower each time it crosses. So very likely it's going to do the exact same move as we've seen. First TP, I would do it where this 618 or 610 line is on the EMA, which would be, still a pretty decent TP. I mean, we're looking at 135 pips and we're risking about 36. So it's still around a 4-to-1 ratio for the first TP. And if it's going to go all the way down, then it's going to be a nice 9.89. So almost a 10-to-1 move on this. All right, Aud Jpy. So that worked out. This kind of hit TP. Unfortunately, I did not benefit off of this one because my stop loss was too low. So if the stop loss would have been around 50 pips, winner, winner. Unfortunately, I kept my stop loss at 38 pips, so I was knocked out here. Right? It just goes to show you, right? It could be just that perfect move that is missing, and sure enough, it's just a matter of a few pips. Right, but because it was knocked out the first time and I saw it going sideways, I did not re-enter this trade. Could have been entirely possible, right? Because it hit the entry point and didn't cross 1, 2, 3 times, right? Didn't cross the stop loss zone. So at that point, you need to kind of reevaluate whether or not it's worth entering the same trade, and hitting your stop loss 2, maybe 3 times. I don't think there's much value in that. The only situation would be is, if you entered with a larger stop loss to begin with, right? But unfortunately, this one didn't pan out, but I wish it would have. Like, that was a beautiful move in itself, right? Everything kind of worked out the way it was planned. Yeah, it was unfortunate, just not deep enough by about 14 pips or so. Oh well. AUD Ncd. So not exactly my favorite currency pair to trade. Both AUD and Ncd are bullish, but AUD has been gaining more strength recently. However, it hasn't crossed these highs that it made way back in the beginning of May. So judging, let's see on the daily what this looks like. So judging from that, we are at kind of this double top, okay? And as you see, it's right along that white line. So if we zoom out, let's get some more context on that, right? And as you can see, this has been tested many, many, many times. So from just that, I'd be expecting this to drop from this point and go lower. But again, that would entail that AUD is going to be weak for much longer period of time, which right now, if you take into account, it's like from the low that it made in September, AUD has been bullish for 263 days. 260, pardon me. And it's gone up about 800 pips. So for almost 2/3 of a year, 800 pips, you know, not fantastic. We could definitely make that up in a month, maybe two. I'm not comfortable trading this pair the way that it is right now. Even if it continues to go up, you know, it had the switch right now on the daily. Let's see what the 4-hour looks like. Pretty stable, but again, I'm taking into account that it's going to reject off this line or come right back through it, and we might be either, if it doesn't go bearish, then you know it's going to be a dangerous counter trend to take, because again, we're going against the trend for the last 260 days, so that's quite a bit of time. AUD USD. So my projection here, because USD is it kind of hitting a little bit of a weakness right now, just short-term weakness. I believe that we could see between the two, AUD and USD, AUD to kind of gain some steam against USD. So I'd be assuming that we're going to hit around this blue line right here. Entry zone is around this institutional candle setup right here. So these two parallel lines, parallel candles, pardon me. And then, yeah, so entry's right in the middle of there, just slightly above is the stop loss, and it kind of goes perfectly through that line. So I'm going to be waiting to see that setup, because overall, if we look at this, this pair is bearish overall, right? We just may see a bit of a rise. Like, it has to go up about 200 more pips in order for this trade to be valid. And at that point, whether it's on the 4-hour, maybe even on the 1-hour, to look for a EMA reversal here in this area before jumping in on the trade, that would be more to my benefit. So yeah, we'll wait for that. Bitcoin, it's kind of all over the place still. Let's check out the daily. It's been hanging out, not a whole lot of action, right? Just kind of ranging in this space. You saw that rejection off that black EMA, so that's a very strong tell that this wants to go lower. Originally, I was expecting a bounce off that, but as you see, it kind of broke through, and now it's acting as a resistance. So the 987 definitely super valid on the daily. Yeah, this is going to be quite a doozy if it keeps going that way. Like, if we zone all the way back, the black never got crossed since its inception back in September, right? Like, there wasn't enough Bitcoin data to be able to pull up this candle, 987 of them. So if we see where we're at right now, if by chance that we continue on this road, we're going to see the first cross of the brown going to the black. But that is about $5,700 worth of Bitcoin to drop. Well, not drop, sorry, the EMAs to tighten, right? Because they are pretty far apart at this point. And the last time we were in kind of bearish mode, like you see right here, it was still going up, and by the time that they started pointing down and coming closer, it reversed and kind of never looked back, right? So what's going to happen here, very deep spread that we have between the EMAs. If they come closer, something to this extent, we may be seeing a very strong move upwards. just based on previous movement, right? I still think that this is going to go a little bit lower than what it's at right now. It went lower already than what I projected way back here. I did not expect it to drop below that 30,000 mark, but it did. Kind of got crushed. So yeah, I mean, we're looking for any sort of point that adds any relevance. Oh, sorry, pardon me. The only other thing I can think of is this volume area way back here, right? So if we go, let's say, to when it started consolidating to about this point, volume spiked way down here, but then we also see a bit of an extreme zone in this clump, right? So if we break through 23,000, then I would say 19,000 would be our next target for Bitcoin. As it's been dropping now, I'm going to jump on the weekly. Let's see in the biggest time frame overall. Like, see, I had my guess right here, and it's kind of panning out to be that way. You know, still a little bit deeper to go. But anyway, so if we take the trend-based fib extension, so let's say low to here to the newer high, we are kind of in that reversal zone right now. Okay. Yeah. So there's many things that can happen in this instance. It could be that, you know, it actually does reverse and bounce off, but if it does drop through this zone, because if we take a look for volume, right, where it's been consolidating, it's going to be right in the center, right here. So just want to draw a horizontal line, and then we'll see what the significance of this line is heading a little bit further back. So, so let's take a look. Okay. Lots of wicks going through that line. There's some that touch that line, but very, very few candles actually close on the daily below it, right? Except for what we have currently. So this is set up as the volume profile. I believe that this would be constituted as previous liquidity zones, right? So we had one point, kind of rallied, came back to that area many times, right, to kind of get the stragglers. But as you see here, right, so we'll just draw one more horizontal line. I'll delete the rest. It's going to be messy. We'll draw it right at the cusp right there, and I'll lower it to the 1. So you see it never actually came that low again until now. But where we see those lows, right, this little black line, it's struggling to stay below it, right? So it's being tested multiple times. But right now, I would say that's a very solid resistance zone. So I'm going to leave that up for now. I'm going to get rid of this white line. Okay, and it's really, really interesting because it does not want to cross this zone, apparently. Like, this is the lowest point that it's been at, and now it's acting as a resistance. So, you know, two things that could be taken away from that. Possible trades to be taken right off this line, but again, if you have a big spike like that, that's you know, $3,000 of money lost, right? So that's a lot of pips. Got to be very careful when it comes to Bitcoin. It's a little too volatile. But if we take a look, let's say on the 4-hour in this particular trading pair, and I'll delete this zone because it's already in the reversal. There's no sense for me to just keep it up, right? But as you see, where it formed its supply zone around this area, it breached it briefly, but it continued down. All right, so what is this telling us? Let's switch over to the 1-hour. Maybe we'll get some more information in these candles. Okay. So right now you see small little volume spikes in those particular areas. And right now, when that entire move happened, we have a volume spike where the last one was right here. Okay, so this is the point of control, and this, and this one are extreme zones. So if we take a ray and draw it right at the tip right there, you're going to notice that I have it on the wrong color first off. but this is where the majority of volume started being created. Okay, so this is currently where it's hanging out. I would say between this black line and this red, there might be opportunities to be able to grab trades kind of within that zone. So as you see, that's about almost $3,000, $2,900 and change. Entirely possible to be able to take trades in that zone. As you see, you know, even when it got breached right here, it kind of went close to that zone, went right back down, kind of a little bit past halfway, struggled to go a little higher, broke through that zone, but came right back up to that one. So yeah, it's very possible, but like you see right here, okay, let's zoom in a little bit. And I'll bring these to the front so they're a little bit more clear. Visual order, bring to front. Okay, so as you see, when that yellow line crossed the red, that would have been a good entry right here, somewhere around these candles. Okay, these ones right here. Because at worst, once the EMA crossed, right, so that would have been at the close of this one, because that one would have definitely opened up. You know, you would have been $78 worth of a stop loss. Quite possibly down to that area. I mean, you could set it up even a little bit deeper, right? Just in case. So maybe like 150, I guess, would be reasonable. Down to there, right? Previous candle open would be kind of especially if it's that big. Previous candle open would be a good stop loss to set, and then it just kept going up, right? So that would have been a nice trade to enter. And as far as that goes, so watch, like it almost crosses back here, but you're already in profit. So the only thing your trade should be is probably break even by this point, right? I mean, we're talking almost an entire day later. And from that point, if your stop loss isn't broken from the break even, then just watch this yellow line. It never crosses over until it gets way up here, right? So quite possibly, if you entered based off that EMA rule, let me just kind of get back to that area. It would be, and then crossing back down there. So let's see, that would be $2,788 in profit, right? So 27,000 pips or 278,000 pips, however you want to calculate that. Not too bad. Not too bad of a run at all. Okay. All right. So we'll switch back to continuing on with forex. I just wanted to, you know, jump on Bitcoin, give it a little bit of an analysis there. Cad Chf. So Cad ended up switching to bull mode once again, kind of near the end of May. It had a hard rejection off that line, but as you can see right now, it's bouncing in between the two. That would have been a nice snag actually. Once it bounced off here, you can see the wicks hit that area 3 times, right? Especially on the daily. So if we switch to the 4-hour, multiple times did it come to that area, but each time was higher than the previous. Very funny how the candles almost closed on top of each other, but the wicks made a move upwards like this, right? Very nice entry zone for sure. And once that happened, you saw EMA switch, and it's continued. It hasn't come back yet. So there is that. I believe that you know, this can definitely make a run right back to this area. Quite possibly, would it break it? Hard to say, because it did go lower than the previous points right here. So maybe not as high, maybe it'll just touch that line, but as you see, because that line is diagonal, it's not going to cross the peaks right here. So if that is the case, let's switch it over to the daily. Maybe we'd be able to see something here. Because overall, it would be like in the short term, I guess, in the last few months, it would be a counter trend trade. But in the long term, as you can see, all the lines, the big Fibonacci channel that I have is going down overall. So the possible trade to take would be somewhere around here. Oh, geez. Okay, somewhere around here, right? And then stop loss would be tight. Maybe 25 pips, maybe a little bit less, right? I do not expect it to cross that peak. and then quite possibly right back down to that white. So very good 13.5 to 1 trade off this currency pair. And again, that all depends on, you know, how weak the Canadian dollar is going to become in the next few weeks. There isn't, I think there's no interest rate announcement coming until, don't quote me on this, but maybe July. Like, it just had one a couple of weeks ago. So I can't see an interest rate increase that soon. Could be just a short run up and then CHF kind of takes over in the short term. But overall, you know, I think we're going to be playing in a zone for now. We'll take a look. All right, I'll just set that. Oh, I don't want it red. Why are you red? There we go. Cad Jpy. Now every Jpy pair is weak, right? This shouldn't be much of a surprise. And I'll get rid of this fib. That's not relevant right now. As you can see, it was playing around this line right now. Now it's getting up to here. Jpy is the weakest currency. So, I mean, overall, if you just want to play it long term, taking a buy may not be a terrible idea. You know, it's been run ragged for the last little while. Like, it's gone up 1,000 pips since March, right, to now. More than 1,000 actually. It's like 1,300, I think. Let's draw it even from this line. Yeah, 1,460 pips. So that's quite a run. So yeah, as far as trades go, I mean, I can't really see a proper entry right now. Although off this pink EMA would have been pretty good about 2 weeks ago. Let's see, right off that wouldn't have been a bad idea actually, jumping in off this candle pattern. Come on, I'm trying to click you. What are you doing to me? Right? Like, that wouldn't have been so bad. That would have been a long position to grab right there with, yeah, I mean, it would have been deep, right? 115, 117 pips stop loss. I mean, overall, 75 is still a little bit much for me. I don't like going above 50 or 60 typically. So based on that one, let's see what we'd see on the 4 hour. Anything that would stand out? And realistically, no. The only thing I would see is maybe this imbalance. Well, it got filled right there. Smaller time frame. What do we see? Maybe this guy right there, but no, it doesn't come that low. What is the significance here? Maybe a little bit of volume that occurred. I mean, would we want to count that? Let's see. Where's the volume profile? From peak to the drop right here. No, volume's way up there. This is, yeah, there wasn't really a strong indicator to show that this is where it'd be going. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not too concerned about jumping in on that trade anyway. But, yeah. So, let's see. Why is this one drawn up here on Cad Jpy? What was my thought process on this? For it to pull back there, oh yeah, I just drew that up based on, okay, not relevant anymore. All right, so as far as taking this trade, I would think might be a rejection off this, goes a little bit. I don't see it dropping too far before Cad gains more steam and goes higher. So maybe if we take a look at Fibonacci, right, if we go from this, whoops, sorry, let me do that again. If we go from this area to here, let's say that is the high. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I can't stop yawning. Man, data 3 is hard some days, let me tell you. The lack of sleep kills. Anyway, so around, yeah, so 618, around the golden zone right here, even the line's going through it, so very strong chance it will come down to that area. I'll just leave up the fib. I'm not going to take a position yet because it'll take several days for it to come down to that area anyway. Chf Jpy, I mean, this played out beautifully, right? Like I was saying before, it dropped low in the analysis way back here. I simply said, wait for EMA switch to jump in, which would have been at the end of this candle. Yeah, so it would have been super tight just because this wick dropped so much lower, and that's really unfortunate. However, if you really take a look at it on the 4 hour, right? If the candle closes right here and the next one starts opening green, it's a very, very good chance that it's going to cross those EMA lines. Okay, now if you look at the 1 hour right here, those EMAs were crossed down here, going to the upside, right? So maybe even after this candle would have been a good position to take. I would have rallied that against the 4 hour. Wow, it went all the way over there, didn't it? Went all the way over there. But at the end of this candle, as you can see, it was crossing once that went up, and it really shot up at the end of this one. So if we go right here on the replay, right, let's just take a look how this candle would have looked like. As you can see, it's almost crossing at the close right there on the 4. Okay, but if we take a look at the 1 hour, it already crossed. And that is a very strong candle pattern where it slowly dropped in and then big one closed off, right? And then it started going sideways a little bit, but making higher highs, right? Especially with the closes. So that is a good sign. Quite possibly, if I saw that happening on the 1 hour and then on the 4, the cross is primed to switch, it would have been a possibility to take a trade around that area, right? And lower the trade range so that the stop loss set a little bit lower, and then it would have panned out very nicely, right? Because then it would not have triggered again. It just would have entered the entry zone. All right. Otherwise, if it was taken at its original point, it is possible that pullback would have knocked me out of that trade. Okay, but as it is right now, you know, as far as these ideas go, it's not set in stone that everything written down the way it is going to pan out exactly. But most often than not, I see it's just a small range of pips that would kind of determine whether or not the knockout is going to happen. So what we've seen before, kind of 50 to 60 pips is the max range of necessary trade to take. So where was this one before? Around here? I can't exactly remember. It wasn't this high, I don't think. Where were we at? Something like that, I guess, when the switch happened. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, you know, that is one thing to watch for, especially if you have your alerts set. Maybe on the 1 hour, if you're watching a trade, you know, just do the right click and add alert on Fibonacci EMA ribbon. I'm not sure if that's available on the free version. It's definitely available for me. You know, once you pay, I think for basic or even pro or even basic, I should have said it the other way. And then you'd be able to keep track of these trades a little bit tighter. All right, but just remember, even if that happens, you need to understand that once this, where was that trade area? Right here, something like that. Okay, once it goes into that, right, and you are about 150 pips in profit, it's going to be, you're going to be hard pressed to keep your stop loss at that 60 or 50 pips in the negative, right? Because why risk this pullback? Like for me, if I saw this line cross right here, these EMAs switched after this candle, that probably would have been my first exit, right? And then if it touched that area and rejected right off it, then quite possibly I'd be reanalyzing another entry point, right? Very likely once EMAs shift once again. But it's very, very temperamental, right? So, you know, would have been an 84 pip snag based off entry right there to that close of that candle. And it's too bad because excuse me, not a whole lot of people would keep their stop loss in the negative once being 150 pips in the positive, right? Like that just doesn't happen that often. So one thing to keep in mind, right? Just to keep an eye for entries. Like I said, if you set that alert on the Fibonacci EMA, every time it crosses over, it will alert you, right? So if it crossed here and then you're good for 2 days and then it crosses again, once it crosses again, then you'll be like, oh, hang on a second, let's check that alert. Go and check your charts. Oh, wow, okay, this is reversing. Let's get out of this trade and, you know, analyze, maybe set another alert where entry was originally. Lots of options to take, right? So right now, as this goes, There's really nothing to reanalyze. I believe that this is still has a potential to go much higher. And why do I say that? Because hey, it's JPY. It's kind of been tanking, and on the daily, like there's no sign of slowing down, right? So if we go down to the 4-hour, not even close to slowing down. Like we're not even looking at an EMA switch here. 1 hour, it's kind of teetering a little bit on this area. So it's entirely possible that it could be reversing up here. But you know what? TP's done. I mean, that's 676. That's a huge, huge gain. All right. And how long was this trade on for? Let's see. From start to finish, I guess where it hit 17 days. So just a little over 2 weeks. Not too bad. Let's take a look at DXY just for the sake of it, right? If we want to know where USD pairs are going, this is kind of a good sign to understand where it's headed. But I'm going to switch it to the daily. All right, and I have my Fibonacci channel drawn up here too. So I do believe that we are going to see a further drop of the USD, which would do pretty well for stocks. But as soon as USD becomes bullish, the stock market is going to crater. And I mean, I'll get into that in the other chart review, but I just want everybody to be mindful. Watch the DXY. If you see it after hours doing a lot of movement, might be a good sign to either jump in or stay away from the stock market. Okay, so this is going to be good guidance. As you can see, when this moves up, NASDAQ moves down, right? When this starts going down, NASDAQ starts going up. You can see this little spike of movement right there. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen all the time, but more often than not, this is the motion that I've seen. So look, for example, right? Where do we have October, November 10th, right? That was the last kind of low area that we had, the pullback before it kept going. November 9th, November 10th. If we take a look right here on the NAS, as you can see, mine's super messy right now. November 22nd, November 9th, 10th was around this area, right? So it spiked a little bit more and then it started dropping. So let's see areas of significance. January 4th. Where was January 4th? Around here. Okay, so this dropped a little bit and this also dropped a little bit. Okay, so that one kind of balanced itself out. It went the same direction. January 28th down to February 7th. Let's see that one. Right, January 28th to Feb 7, which was right here. So this NASDAQ went up and DXY went down. So, it works more or less. Let's see right here, March 14th to March 30th. Right, March 14th, so I'll just draw right here. March 14th to March 30th. So as you can see, it went down that right there. Okay, that's the move that it made down overall. Okay, and this was just straight up for the 2 weeks. And then that was the last move down. You can see this entire draw up, right? So March 31st up until May 13th. All right, let's take a look here. Right here, March 31st. Oh, let's draw the ruler. March 31st to May 13, right there. Right, so just tanking this entire time, right? So overall, I mean, it's not exact, but we've lost approximately like 2,800 points on the NAS, while the dollar itself gained almost 7,000 pips worth of movement. Okay, so just to keep in mind, if this starts going down, right, and as you see over the last 2 weeks or so, like May 16th to about May 30th, right? So let's see that May May 16th is right around here. This one. Okay, May 16th to May 30th, which was right there. So a slight move up, right? I mean, it kind of dipped low first before moving upwards. And, you know, not really a similar move. This was just straight down. So, yeah, but it's just good to keep in mind, I would say. I'm still hopeful that it'll reach that 14,300 zone. There's a lot of zones that need to close before it makes lower moves. And right now, if we're looking at Elliott wave patterns, oh, you know what? I'm not going to jump on NAS right now. I want to focus on forex pairs. Just sorry about that, guys. I don't want to say too much on this one because I'm going to be going over it on the other review anyway. So I'll move on. Ethereum kind of you know, bounced off that low here, and it's holding that position. It finally crossed that black EMA, and it's using the black EMA right now as resistance. Yeah, everything's going down. Euro AUD, you know, not exactly the start off I thought would have happened, but now it's starting to do my zigzag pattern. So Euro AUD, if we know that right now Euro is going to be bearish for the long term, this is, you know, what's going to happen is when the rates are announced tomorrow, we might see a spike in Euro's favor, and then a drop. I would say the drop is going to happen around that yellow line. Very possible to make a super, not really super tight, maybe 50 pips stop loss, and bring it down to here again. So 13.2, 650 pip gain, and a 49 pip risk. Entirely possible from that area. Yeah, let's keep an eye on that. I don't think the euro is going to gain much more strength. This is going to be dropping hard. Euro Cad. So I thought it would come back here. This is what I drew up. That's going to bounce off and go higher. It's too bad I missed this move, right? Like I drew the support and resistance already a few weeks ago, and I mean the move was perfect. Like everything panned out as a 10-to-1 win right here, done. But at the same time, this would have been a very simple entry to the sell. Like if my TP was set there, what was stopping me from grabbing another trade even at 26 pips or something? I probably would have done it just to the top of this candle. Right, so let's say 36, 37 pips, right back down to that zone. Like it's almost there. It's another 10-to-1 win. I don't know why I did not see that coming. That would have been a great trade, right? Like we've established that that is kind of the trading zone. And that's a kick in my own pants, you know. That's too bad. All right, but yeah, if it comes down, I think it is a possibility that it's going to shoot up in the short term. Because like I said, CAD's rates have been announced. That's why we've seen this drop over the last few weeks. But even so, they were announced. You know what? I'll take a look. Let's take a look on the phone for a second. My screen is going to be not moving, so pardon me for that. Let's take a look on Forex Factory. And what I'm looking for is the last time that CAD had any rate changes. Right, so let's filter, and we just want CAD. All right, apply. Let's see what we have. This might take a little while. Unemployment, CPI, overnight rate, Wednesday, June 1st, overnight rate 1.5. Nope, that's not the one I'm looking for. GDP, no, 1%. Maybe that is the one I'm looking for. Overnight rate at 1%. Previous, yeah, okay. So it was announced April 13th. Right, April 13th. So around here, and it was dropping, kind of peaked a little bit, dropped harder. Let's see. And then it was announced June 1st. So June 1st was right here. A little bit of an out. Yeah, so you know what? I guess it does mean it'll move in one direction or the other, but right now it's like Euro's been weak this entire time, and yet it still made this move. So you know what? I'm gonna keep this drawn up. I have a feeling that we may be seeing the same kind of movement. It's already within that zone, so I would say stop loss maybe 40 pips. You know, a 9-to-1 ratio at this point, and I would wait for an EMA switch on the 1 hour. Right, that's what I'd be looking for. Once it crosses that entry point, EMA switch, up it goes, and follow it along. But yeah, it would like this would have been perfect for 3 trades even, right? Like as soon as it popped here, grab a sell. As soon as it hits there, sell it, grab a buy. Like so many good moves to grab. Euro CHF. Both currencies are weak at the moment, so that's why we're not really seeing a whole lot of excitement over the last month almost. It's just been going sideways. Like it had this M and then it shot down and then nothing's happened. Right? It's using this yellow line as a resistance or support, sorry, and it's bouncing off that several days. Almost 2 weeks actually. Euro GBP. So a little bit surprising. GBP should be the stronger currency of the two. But as you can see, EMAs right now are kind of shifting and starting to move upwards. And yeah, so where would be a good entry to take? Probably would have been right there on the wick on the 17th, but it's okay. This is not a pair I'm interested in, only because it's very volatile, right? Like it has very deep moves, big wicks. Not for me right now. Euro Jpy, same story. Like Cad Jpy is going to be very weak, even though Euro is weak. You know, so when I drew this arrow here, I was expecting to move all the way up to this white line, the box that I drew. But it could be that I just jumped, you know, a month ahead of that actual move. It could be very well that this was the key area that I was going to bounce off of and actually make this run. You know, it's a little bit too bad. I misjudged that entry zone. I should have done a little bit more digging. Like I found this wick right here. I'll show you this guy. Okay, and if we jump on a lower time frame, like that is the candle setup where we'd be looking for right here, that 50% line. Okay, so as it goes right now, that 50% line that we had back here, this is where it bounced off of and started going up. So it's too bad. I should have done more due diligence and noticed that sharp move, and that's okay. You know, I mean, there'll be other pips to grab. It's just some days I'm on my game, some days I'm just trying to do quick analysis, and that quick analysis kind of knocked me out of a potential 730 pip trade. So let's see how this would look like right now. If we take that entry here with a stop loss right there, 41 pips, 42 almost, where we're sitting up right now. You know, we're expecting to go all the way up here, so that's a 24, almost a 25 to 1. Currently, it is 17 to 1. So, you know, that's the name of the game. Sometimes I'm paying attention, sometimes I drop the ball. Hopefully, less ball dropping as time goes on, right? But yeah, that kind of goes to show. I saw this bounce right here. I'm like, what was the significance? Damn. Right? Missed that candle pattern. Would have been good to catch, but it is what it is. So I'm still expecting this to run up. It is possible to still jump in on this trade whenever there's a strong pullback. You know, not to say that FOMO is something that should kick in at this point, but anytime that there is any decent retracement, so if we'd be looking, you know, let's say for example that's the peak and then it's going to pull down to this area, I don't see that happening. It might just pull down maybe to here, to this support zone, and go right back up. But yeah, I guess we'll see in the next few days what happens with it. I'm still expecting this to be overall bullish. Euro Ncd, not something I'm even interested in. Like, I do not like these junky candle patterns. Not my thing. Euro USD, kind of expecting a little bit of pullback to this area. So I don't think it's going to cross this particular candle pattern on the 4 hour. I'm still very bearish on this pair, only because USD should be much stronger than the euro. But it could be that the short-term euro, for the next few days, it runs up, it does one of these and slowly hits this area and then just tanks. That's what I'm counting on. We'll see if that's exactly what happens, but this particular candle pattern setup is what I'm basing the trade off of. Plus, it's with trends, so it should do very well, right? If we switch over to the daily, like not even a contest, everything's showing down for a very, very, very long time, right? We'll just switch over to the cursor now, right? Since June of last year, like it's just been dropping. Okay, so that's and if we take a look, yeah, like I said, with the Fibonacci from that pullback zone to here, that should make perfect sense. Let's, you know what, for fun, let's do the Elliott wave pattern on this pair. So here's our high, low, second high, second low, third high. I guess it was this one, third low, fourth. It would have to be this one because this one is higher than this one. So there, 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 there. Do we want to count that one? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we should, unfortunately. And then that's where they ended, right? So it's been point of origin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 moves, right? So if it doesn't pull up over this high, we're going to be looking at 14 and 15. Now that's a lot of moves, right? Typically, when it comes to Elliott waves, the strongest ones are the third and the fifth wave. Going down to 13 and 15, it's just, we're really stretching out those trades. But I just do not see a reversal coming. Like you see all of this support that the aqua line built up, right? Like it busts through and then comes right back up. And that's been happening, it's the last time it was below that line was in 2017. Like that's 5 years ago. So yeah, I mean, it's very likely that it'll just kind of pop up. It could hit that, it could go even deeper, right? Past the 786, going to this yellow line. Like we've seen it happen in the past. And if it does, then, new Elliott wave to form because that beat the previous high. But maybe not. No, we'll see. Anyway, curious. That's the potential trade idea for now. Gbp Aud. So yeah, we've had lots of opportunity, but look at this grossness. Like on the daily, this is just disgusting. I do not want to be in this pair anymore. I'm over it. But I mean, if there's a rejection off that pink, like damn, that is just too good to pass up. Looking for a sell. Yeah. I'm not really sure what to think of this one, actually. Get rid of that. Oh, well, I'll move on. Gbp Cad. Right. Cad dropping for a long time. the relevant zones now. It really broke through that yellow. The aqua could be the next target. When was the last time? Yeah, very good possibility. It did break through those lows, and it's making new ones, right? The only other area would be here. This one right here in 2017. Wow, that is steep. What are the odds? Let's see. If we did this from here to here. Just want to do a copy and paste with this move. Now, how many times did it have that kind of lengthy move? Almost. From there to there, I mean, if we just go down, almost. Right, from here to here, just move it sideways. Pretty good. Right, almost. From that big drop to that area, almost. Like seems to be that is in the long term, like I would say over the span of a few months, a very strong indicator that is how deep it's going to be going. Because currently, like if we talk Elliott waves on the long term, like let's just go on the weekly. I don't want to be drawing this up too long, but let's see. Right? High, low, next high, and now we haven't got a lower low since here. So, I mean, if we're talking 3 years worth, we're really only on wave 3. Like we had a few little guys in between, right? Just some of this movement, right? We had those, but yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of assuming we're going to be heading down to that aqua anyway. So let's see from where it's at right now. Another potential 500 and maybe 600 pips for it to drop. I mean, it could just pull back, maybe to this area. I don't know. I'm not going to be taking a trade off this anyway. It's too messy. This is on the weekly anyway, but even on the daily, like it's too hard to be able to gauge where it's going to pull back to, especially because I mean we haven't had a deep pullback like a 618 retracement since February, when it went from these two zones, right? Like we haven't seen anything since these pullbacks, and then just kept dropping. So it's very strong in trend right now. Okay, I'm gonna take that one off. Gbp Cad, yeah, not really. Gbp Chf, not really interested. Gbp Jpy, I mean, there's much better pairs like Cad Jpy or even Euro Jpy to take, so I'm not gonna bother with that one. Gbp Ncd. No. I mean, when the rates were announced, I believe it was, where was that? It was just a spike. I believe it was on the 24th. I think so. Yeah, right here, where the rates were announced for Ncd, right here on the 24th. That's when I'm like, okay, so due to that spike, it's going to pull back and then keep dropping. I didn't expect it to actually overwhelm this entire candle, but it did not go higher than this wick right there. So it was a good sign that, good potential entry to take off that area. But that would have been really it, right? There's nothing else to see there. GBP USD bounced. Don't really see anything going on here of value. It is gonna be bearish overall. I believe that run's already started. It could just zigzag for a little bit too, because USD depends on what's going to happen this week. If CPI reports are exactly as predicted, then the USD is going to show slight weakness just for the short term. Ncd Cad is strong in the short term, so again, this could just be a tiny little pullback before a continuation down. Yeah, actually, that's that's a very good possibility. Currently, it is very briefly broken this low. That's what I'd be watching for. If it goes lower than this area, then wait for a pullback before jumping in on a sell. Ncd Chf, not interested. It's too messy. Ncd Jpy. This is very smooth, actually. There are these gigantic wicks that I really dislike on Ncd, but this has been pretty smooth. It's hit its resistance point, so it looks like this area of significance is holding the price steady. We'll see if there's a breakthrough in that area, but right now it looks like it's just going sideways for the last couple of days. Right, so if we stretch this out on the daily, it's almost of no significance, that last candle pattern. But as you see, it's almost off that white line. So again, strong potential. It could keep going, but I have a feeling that this was the fib bounce right here on the low, especially off that EMA. Like, what a beautiful play. So let's check it out, right? This low to this high right here, I'll stretch it sideways. Right off that 618 area, perfect with the EMA. Like, that would have been a great trade to jump in on a buy. If that was, that perfect zone of entry, would have been 50, maybe pips of a stop loss, and currently 516, 520 in profit. So yeah, 10-1 so far. Not too bad. Yeah, that was missed too, unfortunately. That was about 3 weeks ago. Ncd Usd. What do we have here? Elliott wave. So we had our retracement before going deeper. Yeah, off the golden zone, going down. So what do we see here? Off this high to that low. Looking for this area for it to pull up into. All right, so it's still got a little bit of juice left. It seems to be following the same pattern with the USD pairs. So let's see USD Cad, right? Same idea. I do believe, oh, look how close this is. What are you doing? I don't want to be taking a 83 pip. Oh, excuse me. Let's tighten this a little bit. Okay, what candle pattern can we grab from the 4 hour? The only thing that kind of jumps out at me is an imbalance, which would be this candle right here, just this particular area. Okay, so 50% from that. Let's just go here. And that would allow us to tighten our stop loss a little bit. Yeah, I would say maybe let's go with the 50. Let's be safe with 50, right? So definite possibility. Once that trickles down, right? Like I said, wait for EMA switch. Once it gets below that line on the 1 hour would be pretty good to be able to grab that switch on. Like you see, it's been going sideways for the majority of the last days. And then it's slightly started to go up. I do believe this will drop a little bit more, maybe once it retraces and clears this imbalance right here on this candle, and then down it goes, hopefully into entry zone, and once it comes up, great time to jump in on. So I'll keep that one marked. USD Chf, just too bouncy. I'm really not. Oh, that's on the 1 hour too. Let's see what this looks like on the daily. Yeah, it wouldn't have been so bad actually. Going sideways for the last week. You know, very likely it will pull back maybe to the aqua before going higher. Let's see fib retracement right here. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense if it's the 786 that I'm looking for, but more or less, it'll probably be around that area. If it does go sideways, that's going to be potential reversal zone. Okay, USD Jpy. Double top. Maybe it's going to be a triple top before it goes a little bit lower. Oh, comes another yawn. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Like I said before, JPY is super weak. When we're talking about pairs that are very strong against it, this would be a good time to kind of pay attention to DXY. So if this starts going up, then I mean USD Jpy is kind of going to be a no-brainer. Right, very easy to jump in on the buy there. All right, silver. It's been a while. Let's see what silver looks like now. So let's see. It bounced off that area. Now it's hovering around that black EMA line. Doesn't seem to want to go lower. Where are we going to be coming back to? No, this is too messy for me to be able to figure out a potential zone to grab a trade. I mean, overall, I would say it's going up still. Well, yeah. In the short term, though, it has been going down. Like, it's making lower lows. So where we're at right now, it's very possible that we could just see a fib play out right there, kind of come back to this zone here before going lower. And would that be counter trend? I guess on the daily that would be a counter. Anyway, not interested in taking that one. Let's see gold. Gold has been a little bit more predictable, but yeah, so it looks like aqua and red is really the two zones that it is bouncing in between. It's almost crossing this yellow. It's rejected off it twice, but each time it's rejected, it went higher. I would say that would probably be a good entry for a buy. Let's see what it looks like on the 4 hour. So if we go fib, lowest point to highest point right here in the short term, almost 618 area of sort of the golden zone. Let's go back here. So there's the low point, right? That was the new. Comes up here. It drops to the 618 there. So that's the new low zone. And now we made a new high. We're right at that golden zone area right here. So judging by how it moved out once, twice, this is a very strong chance it'll happen again. Take a buy here on gold, right off that 618. I could see this riding all the way up to the purple, so gaining about $76. So 7,600 pips, that would be quite the win. Let's go long position off this 618. Stop loss. Ooh, 700, that's deep. Maybe, how deep do I want to go this one? Maybe 250. Gold is so different, right? And then way up here, so that's still a 31-to-1 ratio. Possible. Again, right? Going off of this, I would say EMA switch on the 1 hour, it would be the safest bet, right? If it goes below this area, buy stop, so that once it kind of crushes through it, the trade will trigger rather than having to worry about anything else happening. But as we see right here, it looks like a little point of support before bouncing upwards. So it's a possibility even that if it comes down to this area, right, just on the bottom there, very good chance that this stop loss won't even matter much. Yeah, you know what? I might do a small risk at 100. This might be crazy, but let's see what happens. Okay, XTI. So oil, very strong movement in the last few days. Very strong. Right, so as you can see, it's just been steadily going up. There's no contest for this right now. Where can we see a potential pullback though? So let's see. Low, high, low. I mean, we're in that area now, right? Judging from the two kind of the deepest moves that we have here, not judging the first one. So if that is going to make sense, I'd be looking for an EMA switch on the 1 hour somewhere around this area here to take it. What was the last move from here to here? Maybe just this area. Like, I don't see this coming very deep. Maybe that 618 on that fib retracement line, and then up it goes. The extension. Yeah, so I would say maybe that's an entry zone to look for. Okay, that pretty much concludes Forex for this week. Hope that it's been of value for you guys, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks for joining in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. This is all free, and it'll continue to be free so long as the subscription numbers go up. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.